We're here on Kings Spotlight this week with Kings college football coach Jeff Knarr. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, we got a big game this week, opening up MAC conference slate with defending champion Widener University. But before we get to that game, let's just look back at the last week's game with Moravian College, our season opener. It was a great atmosphere, Coach. First ever night game at Kings. Can you share your thoughts on that environment, first of all?
Yeah, well, I guess just kind of what you thought. It was an electric atmosphere. The crowd was great. They were enthusiastic. They were, into the game. I mean, it was, deafening at times. And it doesn't take much for my voice to get hoarse. But I was pretty hoarse because usually you can yell things out and, the kids could hear. And then, you had to yell louder because, I could just tell how loud it was and deafening at times. And definitely a very exciting, crowd that was well into the game from the beginning to the end. So it was a great atmosphere that hopefully we can continue.
Well, let's talk about the game. It was a tough loss for Kings. We lost 21-17 on a touchdown with under a minute left in the game. Talk in particular about that last sequence of plays when we were ahead and Moravian came through with a big play.
Defensively, the things we had but breakdowns on were communication, and unfortunately, the big pass that was a communication breakdown on a call that we had done a few times before the game and executed it, the way it's drawn up. And that one we just had a breakdown from that standpoint. So we talked to the kids. They played great. I thought defensively and did a solid job, especially in the second half of dominating at times. But we got to make sure every play is a history itself, and the next play we got to be totally focused to make sure we're doing everything that's vital and necessary to complete that play. And unfortunately we had a miscommunication that allowed a coverage breakdown.
Let's talk a little bit about the offense. We had Tommy Harris starting at quarterback. Tommy's a senior, but he hasn't started at all during the course of his career. So previously he played in a lot of packages that were specially designed for him, but now he had to run the whole offense. So talk about the job that he did.
Yeah, it was his first, start, being the quarterback and seeing the whole thing. And then, I thought, he did well as the game progressed on, because he has, that it factor that he's just a very competitive, driven, young man who gives everything he has. And then, he did some really good things, throwing and running with his feet. Made some things that needs to improve upon and work on. But even some of the mistakes he made in the game, his confidence never wavers, his belief in himself, and his teammates never wavers, and and then he battled back and was able to take advantage of their short punt and then guide us into the end zone with a nice pass to the Palmer to set up a 1st and goal, and then then from the 2 saw they gave an opening and called the quarterback sneak and then was able to get it into the end zone. So he's a battler and a competitor that I thought did a good job and made some good plays, and then the things that he needs to work on that weren't a success for him on Saturday are things that are experience driven that you can show on film and teach, and they're all learnable and correctable mistakes. And that's the one thing about Tommy. He's in here all the time and wants to learn and be the best that he can and works tremendously hard. So he's only going to get better as the year goes on.
The running game didn't quite get up to 100 yards. Have a true freshman at tailback in Gabe Brown. And Gabe had 45 yards on 19 carries. Seemed to do better as the game went along. So talk about what you saw from him.
Yeah, I thought he ran hard. There was a couple times maybe his path was a little off from there, but a couple times his path I think had to be off as we weren't maybe correct up front, and then he had to bounce into areas where it's a little bit tough from there. But he did run hard. He ran downhill. Was able to run through some people, and now afraid to put his shoulder down. So I thought he played, with confidence and didn't have, the deer in the headlight look that sometimes a freshman making their varsity debut, can. So they were a defense that was packing the box and trying to stop the run and force us to throw. So he grounded out some much needed yards, and it's only going to get better again as the year goes on.
We had a first-time starter at quarterback, a first-time starter at tailback, and then 2 first-time starters at wide receiver. Matt DeMarco had 6 catches in the game, and Mike Palmer had 4 to top the receivers. And again, both of them gentlemen were making their first-time starts.
First time in college, debuts, as well, and they did a good job. They're playmaking, type receivers, which you want, where they can, create things on their own after the catch. plus get open on tight coverage. The last pass that Palmer caught to set a touchdown. I mean, he's the guy's at his face, and he fakes his slant and runs the sluggo route and gets behind him. From there, DeMarco found holes in the coverage to sit down and make catches, and then uses speed and athleticism to extend plays. He did a great job in the kick game with a 38-yard kick return. So there's a lot of things that we saw with them through camp, that their explosiveness, playmaking ability, very talented, came through and did a good job, and then just continue to work and develop them, and again, can't rush experience, and they got one game worth, and now they got to use that to build upon for game 2.
Well, defensively against Moravian, it seemed as if our defense struggled a little bit in the first half against the run, allowing about 110 yards in the first half, but in the second half, they really came to play, and Moravian, I believe, only gained 12 yards rushing in the second half. Talk about the difference between the first and the second half of the defense.
Yeah, really, it was like 2 series, I think 2 in the first half, and a lot of it, as you look down on the film, it was missed tackles. I mean, guys were there, and we just looked out of position to miss tackles. And so the coaches talked to them and got them to make sure, they were in better position, slow down, and then, we tackled better in the second half. But when we flew to the football and was, dominating in the run game and to hold them, and stifle them in that second half, I think we ended up with 7, 3-and-outs, numerous, tackles for a loss. So it was, really good, good to see aggressive, physical, dominating defense on Saturday.
Well, statistically speaking, and we all know statistics don't win games, but we did have an advantage in first downs, 16-12, and a time of possession by nearly 10 minutes. So those are 2 areas that you really had to be pleased with.
Yeah, I mean, they're things that our offense is predicated upon and doing there. But with the goal with time of possession is to be able to finish drives. And we had some mistakes and turnovers that hurt us. Offensively, I thought we kind of got a rhythm in the second half, but we stopped ourselves. And they're the things that we need to work on this week, and correct upon. But we're our offense and how it helps our defense is we need to be on the field. So we were, and then we need to get first downs, and then we need to to finish. And we were very happy. We were 3 for 3, in the red zone as far as getting points, and that was a point of emphasis for us, this year. So we did, like I said, told the guys we did enough in all 3 phases. Very good football. That's winnable football. But then unfortunately we made a lot of mistakes, enough mistakes that you can cost the game. And in the first game of the year, when there's still some unknown, a lot of times whoever makes the most mistakes comes on the short end.
Well, looking ahead to this week, Kings opens the Mid-Atlantic Conference schedule, and the schedule maker really didn't do you any favors by giving you the defending conference champion, Widener University, on the road right off the bat. Widener, obviously a very good team, but they lost their first game against another very good team in Rowan University. So going into Widener, you know that they're going to be looking to get that first win off the board and not get a second straight loss. So talk about the team's mindset going into a game like that.
I think for us, it's good that we have Widener, early, because we've had them late the last 2 years, and we had played well leading up to that point with them. So we gave Widener reason to take us seriously, and then they did. And then our kind of kids, that was the mental hurdle we have to get over, that we can play with them. We've kind of gotten out of the game early, the last 2 years, and allowed big plays to happen, and then not be able to answer and respond. So now you get them early in the year, and everyone's still trying to figure things out and what they can do well, and who they have, and all that. So I think our kids, right now, they rebounded well. They understood, it's a game of focus on little things in a game, and we didn't take care of enough of those on Saturday, but we did a lot of good things that if we continue to improve, we can hang and be on the game and play all 4 quarters and make those little things happen to get the win on Saturday.
Well, looking at Widener on offense, they've always had a reputation for putting up a lot of points on the board and getting a lot of yardage, and they're led by a very good quarterback in Seth Klein, who is a very capable runner, but he's also a very, very good passer too. And in last week's game against Rowan, he threw 54 times, but he also was the leading rusher on the team as well. So talk about him and what he brings to that offense.
Yeah, he's a very good athlete, and as well as a very good quarterback. So he can sit in the pocket and pick you apart if you give him time. And then if you don't contain him, he can run. And he's not afraid to run and get yards, but he's also will run to buy time to throw. Their first touchdown pass, he was scrambling, and the receiver took off, got behind the secondary, and he threw a perfect pass to him for the dive in the end zone for for a touchdown. And then other times he'll escape out of the pocket and see there's a big hole and tuck it and run. So, he's a challenge, for our defenses. We got to make sure he's in the pocket, but then we make sure we got to, compress that pocket and make him uncomfortable, and throw, when he doesn't want to throw. Throw not, can't let him get into a rhythm and throw on time. But he's, definitely, one of the best, if not the best quarterback, in our conference because he can run and throw.
One thing you always know about Widener as well, that they have a lot of speed at the skill positions. So in the backfield and also with the receivers, I'm sure that they have a lot of talent and speed like they have in the past.
Yeah, they're very athletic. They're running, a lot of, jet sweeps, getting to the edge, so they get the receivers, involved, not just catching the ball, but also running. Use what they have. I mean, they have fast, athletic receivers, so, throwing the ball, it falls a couple things. If I hand it to them, hey, then they can just use their raw speed from there. And then they got a very savvy, senior-oriented, tailback / fullback and the Getz kid from Pleasant Valley, who's just a good, hard-nosed football player who's athletic enough to be a tailback, tough enough, to be a fullback, to give him those hard-fought yards when needed. But then they have plenty of skill to distribute the ball, amongst many playmakers.
Last year, Widener had one of the top-ranked defenses in the country, and they've only seen one game of film on them so far. Do they have a lot of the same personnel back, and do they bring a similar look?
Yeah, they look exactly the same. They fly around. They're they blitz from everywhere and everybody. So it's a very similar defense. So it's helpful now. You can look. Now you have our game from last year and a couple other ones, and then Saturday's game, against Rowan. To try to get an idea, who may be coming and where, and make sure we're setting our protections and and making sure that when we can protect, we're sliding the right way and protecting. And then if they're bringing more than we have, know that we can get rid of the ball, from that deal, and then be able to stay on schedule is the key there. We have to be good on first down and avoid at a third and long where you're tipping into their favor. But their nose guard number 8, the defensive end number 6. I mean, they're very athletic, powerful football players, and then they graduated some linebackers with the 3 guys that were running around on Saturday against Rowan. Did a great job, and then they have athletic corners and number 10's an All-American, All-Regional type safety as well. So their defense is again very athletic, very physical, and then we just need to be able to understand they have 4 yards on a play is good, and keep moving the chains and stay on schedule.
What do you see as the keys to our team having a chance to win this game?
To come in and not give up, the big play in the quick strike. In 2013, they went right down the field. They converted some 4th downs on us and scored, and we kind of answered, but then we gave up a 96-yard run when we had them pinned inside the 10 on a punt. And then last year they scored on the first play. We drove down, but they missed the field goal. So we gotta make them earn it and not give them the big cheap play. And then we have to be able to answer and then convert. We have to build on the fact that we were 3 for 3 in the red zone. So when we get down there against Widener, we have to come away with points, because if you don't, no matter what you did, it's all for naught, and it's a win for them. And that's kind of been the keys in the past, is we haven't been able to answer them, and then eventually they just extend it, and then it gets out of control. So if we can play the kind of defense we did on Saturday, and without giving up big plays, and communicate, and then stay on schedule offensively, we're going to be in the football game. And it's just a matter of making a play, when it's time to make one to win the game.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Coach, thank you very much for your time, and good luck to you and the Monarchs on Saturday when you travel to Chester, Pennsylvania to face Widener University at 1 o'clock.
Thank you very much.